And welcome to another exciting episode of the Super Fantastic Exchange. My name is Gary. Guys, I can't tell you how excited I am to bring to you somebody that I've been following and is an incredible author. I'm going to share a little bit more about that in a moment, but none other than the incomparable Andy Masters. Guys, y'all give it up for Andy.
Hey, Gary, thanks so much for being here. A total honor to be on your program. I love what you're doing out there. Keep it up.
Oh, thank you so much, Andy. Can you hear your fan club just clapping in the background? It's pretty impressive.
I hear it. Right through the computer. I love it.
You just feel the love through the computer screen. It's so amazing. As I mentioned, Andy, I saw you at a conference several years ago, and I was just an immediate fan of yours. And in fact, I went out and bought one of your books, and I know you've got two others out there as well, available on Amazon. This one is a fantastic book. I've got some favorites in there, and I love your stories, especially about the NFL pencils, where you and this other guy kind of work together. Just some great stories in there. So guys, I highly recommend check out Andy's book. It's incredible, but that's just kind of scratches the surface of all the things that Andy does. So Andy, I want to give you a chance to introduce yourself a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Well, sure. I guess you stole some of the thunder there. I'm an author, written several books, and certainly I also present programs across the country. So keynote programs, also some specialized training programs as well. I do about 50 to 60 events a year across the U.S., Canada, a couple other countries if I'm lucky, but most of the United States. And I do sales and service like that, the Kiss Your Customer book. But also I do a leadership program as well, especially right now with succession planning and employee morale and positive workplace. So that's another arena. So those two are the arenas that I present with. And I live here in Orlando, Florida, one of the hubs of the convention world as well. And I love it. And I have a wonderful wife named Lori and two wonderful kids named McKenna and Landon. So that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
That is awesome. And again, Andy, I'm so honored to have you on the show here. And one of the things I love to do on my show is I find inspiring leaders. And of course, I find you to be an inspiring leader. And I like to peek behind the curtain a little bit to find out what inspires these inspiring leaders. And I reached out to you. You shared with me three really neat things that inspire you. So I want to jump in. The first one you talked about that inspires you is sports and movies. So share with us a little bit how sports and movies just inspire you.
Yeah, that's great. And I honestly appreciate the question. Like, I've gotten a lot of questions over the years, mostly about leadership or whatever, about writing books and so forth. And you kind of stopped me in my tracks because I really don't think I've ever been asked that before. Like, what inspires me? And honestly, I went through a lot of different things through my head. I mean, there's family, but then there's places that inspire me, like maybe the beach. I love, that I think clearly on the beach. But to get to the heart of your question, sports and movies, I don't want to be too cliche. That can be very cliche. Oh, the rags to riches stories, or the person that had nothing and all. I think that I'm inspired by movies because let's face it, Hollywood has really big budgets, so they can put $50-100 million into a 90-minute, 2-hour story to bring inspiration to life. And you have the greatest actors and actresses in the world, arguably, and production and costumes and everything. And so I actually love the arts of movies, and it's inspiring to me to see what they create. And certainly some movies inspire me specifically about the storyline and so forth. So I don't know if you want to stop at the movies, then I'll say something about the sports. So I'm throwing it back to you. So I'm asking you a question, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah.
So do you have a favorite movie of all time, or a movie that inspires you?
Oh my gosh. I watch a lot of movies with my wife, and probably the one that's just is the fun movie is The Devil Wears Prada. Because there's so many incredible quotable moments in that movie. And I know you have actually used that movie in some of your presentations, or some quotes from that as well. So that's probably just one goofy one between my wife and I that we love to quote back and forth.
Yeah, that's so funny that you mentioned that, because, of course, so one of my top leadership programs is called Leadership Lessons from Hollywood. And I actually showed license-protected movie scenes in the program from The Devil Wears Prada, from Frozen, from Star Wars, from X-Men, and all these movies that are great, and you can really it really brings to life powerful points, but also like what did a leader do wrong in a scene. And I love analyzing that with the audience, and they get involved, and it's very interactive. So that's been a lot of fun for me. And so real quick, just we're talking here, my all-time favorite movie is Back to the Future. Probably not, I'm not the only one that has that as a favorite. And then inspirational movies, there's so many, but I'm inspired by Meryl Streep, who of course Wears Prada, but also anyone out there, if you've not seen The Iron Lady, where she plays Margaret Thatcher. That is one of the single greatest acting performances I've ever seen in my life. So that's inspiring to me. The last thing I want to put on sport, because I'm not going to take too much time on the sports thing, because we all understand, yes, a last-second touchdown, it's so exciting. But certainly the stories of the people who were maybe cut from their high school team, didn't make it, focus, dedication, hard work, did everything they could to try to get to a certain level, and I think that's amazing, and also coaching stories. And the last note on this, there's something else that puts sports and movies together, just throwing it out here, is ESPN does these 30 for 30 movies.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you're a sports guy, okay. So there's one that plays near March Madness, because it's a March Madness NCAA tournament movie. And it's the story of the 1983 NC State basketball team. It's a 2-hour movie about Jim Valvano and his story, where he not only led them to a national championship, but also had an incredible fight with cancer and started the Jimmy V Foundation for cancer research. And that 2-hour movie was a movie about how that, now in my view, it's a movie about how that changed a 12-year-old kid's life in 1983, and that 12-year-old kid was me. So that single in 1983, that run that NC State made, and Jim Valvano and so forth, literally changed my life as a kid. And I wanted to do something great. I wanted to be great. I was so inspired. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I just wanted to be great like him and the team, and make a run like that. And it was incredibly inspiring, and it changed my life. It honestly did. So please watch that they always play it during the NCAA tournament. Okay, so it's on TV. Check it out, or I'm sure it's on the Disney Plus actually as well. So
we'll check it out. I'll put a link to the movie or the title of the movie in the show notes, just so people can check that out, as well as The Iron Lady, Devil Wears Prada, some of the great ones out there. But Andy, I love how you combine sports and movies as an inspiration, because with movies you talk about it being creativity and art, and with sports you talk about it being dedication to a focus and something. And I truly believe those two things really, when you combine them together, anything that we do, if you're creative with it and you're dedicated to it, you truly can inspire other people to do incredible things. And Jimmy V was, he had to have some creativity with his team and dedicated to it, and it inspired you as a 12-year-old. So I see why those two things inspire you so well. I want to jump into your second point, where you inspired by entrepreneur success stories. That's a neat one. That's a kind of a unique one. So tell us how that inspires you.
Sure, because I'm an entrepreneur. That means that and I'll use the word solopreneur, which most people know, some people don't. Which is, I'm an entrepreneur that is on my own. I don't have hundreds of people working for me. I don't have one. Technically, I do have what's called virtual assistants, and I have accountants that I pay, but they're not full-time staff. So nevertheless, I'm an entrepreneur, and I really believe entrepreneurs all around the world, I believe we are a fraternity, if you will, of people that live and breathe and think the same way. It is our blood, sweat, and tears. We have to support our family. We started and created an idea. We came up with a name for a company. We have visions. We have challenges. We've had complete heartbreak and disaster, and then and failure. And then we find some way to make adjustments and see the writing on the wall and reinvent things. And so entrepreneurs inspire me so much, because I live it and breathe it, and I root for every single entrepreneur on the planet. I root for you. I root for you so much, and I really want to try to help any way I can as well. So yeah, those entrepreneur success stories, and we've heard so many of them, and so forth. And I'm not even going to tell you, if your next question is what's my favorite one, I'm not going to have an answer for you. But it's even like Mark Cuban, who started selling, believe it was selling trash bags door to door. Yeah, it's garbage bags door to door. Pretty sure about that. And you know, all these great American, not just great American, but around the world, these success stories of people just had a creative idea, took the risk, okay, accepted failure and smacks in the face and so forth, and found a way to keep the heart beating and made changes and was dedicated and then made success happen. That is, it's so inspiring because, you know, I mean, there's dark days all the time.
Yeah.
And we have to look for inspiration from other people that have those dark days.
Wow, that's so good. And I love how you're tying in where, you know, sports and movies, creativity, dedication, entrepreneurship is such a similar approach because you have to have that vision, that creativity, and you got to be dedicated throughout the obstacles, the dark times, as you called it, to continue down that path to your vision. I think it just ties in so well. And that is inspiring to see other people, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, just get through that. And that's a neat story about Mark Cuban. That's curious story. I love that so much. Yeah. So Andy, the third thing that you shared with me that inspires you is travel exploration. So share with us what that means and how does that lift you up and inspire you?
So this is a little different answer. I wanted to take something a little different direction. And so sometimes when we wake up, you know, sometimes we're ready to go, all right, world, I'm going to come get you. And the days you're like, oh, world, really? Man, I'm tired. I feel, I got a lot of things on my things to do list. I got this going on. I got that going on. And so sometimes we have to find what? Inspiration, right? Which is the question. And so I really thought about it. And, you know, certainly when I present programs across the country, I get to go, you know, on a plane and I travel and I've gotten to see, you know, Gary, it's been the single most incredible blessing of my career of being able to see this wonderful country and certainly Canada and some other countries as well, Mexico and Caribbean and so forth. It's been an incredible blessing. I really believe that, you know, every city and every state has a story. There's something to see there, and there's people to learn about there. So people could say, oh, well, you got booked in Buffalo. Geez, you know, that's great. Are you kidding me? I went and saw Niagara Falls. I drove past the Bill Stadium. It was amazing. You know, oh, wow, you know, South Dakota. Are you kidding me? I went to the Badlands. I went to Mount Rushmore. I did all these things. So there's amazing things anywhere in this country that you want to go to. And so you never know. When I wake up, I have to do the things I need to do to get booked as a keynote speaker or trainer somewhere so that I can have that exploration because I never know what adventure is coming next. I never know what email is going to come. Hey, Andrew, we want to know if you can be able to present at this event. I never know where that's going to be. So my next adventure is at the end of me doing what I need to do to get there. So that actually, when I wake up in the morning, that actually inspires me. Like, I never know what my next adventure is going to be, but maybe I have to do some follow-ups. Okay, maybe I need to create some new content to bring people into what I have to say. So yes, travel exploration actually inspires me every morning.
Wow, Andy, I think you shared something that is extremely powerful, where you said my adventure lies on the other side of me doing what I need to do. I mean, I truly believe that's such a profound statement that there's that reward, if you will, or that exploration or that opportunity on the other side of doing what we need to do. So good. That's probably one of my favorite quotes so far. But I truly like how you have an awareness of where you're at. You know, you go to Buffalo and you had an opportunity to see, you know, the Bill Stadium and Niagara Falls. You go to North Dakota and you purposefully have that awareness. And I think when you have that purposeful awareness, you have such greater appreciation and gratitude for that adventure. And that is such a neat approach to it. I absolutely love that. So good.
Absolutely. And I'm a big history. I haven't talked much about history, but of course, history, and there's history basically everywhere, right? I mean, sometimes it's just like, hey, where's the historical district? I would love to just check it out. Oh, I had no idea. This is when the pioneers came here. This is when this happened. This is when that happened. That's really almost every city has history, right? Or every state certainly has history. And so, that's part of the adventure as well. So I want to make sure I threw that in there, because I'm really kind of big in the right now, at least I have different phases that I go through of interest. So the kind of the lost post-Civil War 1880s kind of a thing, the gold rush, the Western thing. So when I go to Arizona, I just went through and wow, look at this old saloon that used to be here. It's just amazing to me that so I get amazed by a lot of those other things. So there's sports, movies, and history and so forth. But yeah, just the adventures that life brings you. The adventures aren't going to come to you. You have to go out and get them. I really believe so. It's hard to be adventurous lying on your couch, right? So you got to make it happen.
That is so good, Andy, man. I could talk to you for hours, but we're wrapping up. We're close to the end of our time, and I want to give you a chance to share a closing thought before we wrap up the show.
Well, this is a tough one because I have, about 15 hours of, material I can share. So, we taught leadership, sales, service, and so forth, but, over 20 plus years, I've talked to people about just work-life balance and time management, which is a little on the boring side, but basically it's being intentional with your time as far as what is your adventure, what inspires you, what relieves your stress. Most of the time we already know those answers. Well, then you have to make time for that to happen. You have to make time for your adventure. Either you control your schedule or your schedule controls you. Either you're in charge of your time or someone else is in charge of your time. So for this next year, be intentional for what adventure do you want to take? What book do you want to write? What company do you want to start? What do you want to start skydiving? You want to learn a new language, a musical instrument? Then be intentional with your time and make that start this year, because otherwise, if you haven't put down the word someday, it's never going to happen.
So good, Andy. You brought it. There's so many great nuggets of wisdom from you. I love the creativity, the dedication, your curiosity for all things around you. I love that, adventure waits on the other side of doing the things that you need to do and be intentional about it. Andy, so good. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Super Fantastic Exchange. Guys, please make sure you go check out Andy Masters. His website is andymasters.com. We're going to put his
Masters.
That's right.
Andy-masters.com.
Well, I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you guys can click right to it. Make sure you grab a copy of his one or both or all of his books on Amazon. This one's fantastic. He's got some great stories in there, and there's 77 great lessons there, because 78 would just be obnoxious. It's in the book. I love your story, man. It's so good. Guys, check out Andy Masters. Thank you so much for joining us on the Super Fantastic Exchange, and we will see you on the next episode. We'll see you guys.
Thanks, Gary. Bye-bye, everybody.